Okay, Nana. So we were thinking about I was gonna come over here and mess with some passwords and get your internet running or something like that, but it all came back,
Yeah,
and it's fine. We don't have to do that.
no, we don't have to do that. I said I wished I knew what was wrong, but I think it's weather connected somehow.
Yes. So now we don't have to do that. We can do an interview, which I wanted to do. I thought of doing this a couple weeks ago, so this is working out perfect. I wanted to come over and see you anyways, and because we talk a lot when we get together, and you got such a good grasp of life, and it's something you do your own set of recording with writing down things that happened.
Yes, yeah.
So where were you born?
I was born in Stromsburg, Nebraska, which is very near Lincoln, which is the capital of Nebraska.
We have family that lives in
And
that state as well.
uh, both my dad and mom's family were there in Nebraska. My mom and dad lived in the same little town, Odell, grew up there, knew each other's folks. It was about 400 at that time, people. So it was a little bitty.
And those are what years that you stayed there?
I was born in 1930, and we left there when I was about 3 months old. So I never have lived
Okay.
in Nebraska, but my whole family, my mom and dad's family, were all there. Um,
So your maiden name was
Kellough,
Beth Kellough.
Kellough. It's a Scottish name. Yeah. My dad's name was Lester. My mother's name was Ardith, and her maiden name was Muth, M-U-T-H, which is very German. So that's basically Middle European is my
Okay.
background.
Okay.
The great thing about both my mom and dad's families, which I think is terribly interesting, is that they were all here during the Revolutionary War.
Wow.
They came from Europe, so we're really American.
Yeah.
You
You've
know.
seen so much happen.
Yes.
And to think that now I was originally gonna come over here and fix the internet, like to think as a kid that we would be doing the things that we are with technology.
It's unbelievable, really. I was lucky enough to live in the city in Chicago as a little girl, so of course we had indoor plumbing and phones and stuff. But a lot of my relatives were still living out there on the farms and stuff, very primitively.
Farms in where?
Well, my aunt, that would be my dad's sister, married a farmer. And they were in Kansas, which is just under Nebraska. They
Yeah,
were just
we've driven through there
yeah,
before.
and they had a wheat and corn farm.
Okay.
Yeah, and I used to spend my summers out there. My mom would send me out there
I
to
did
get
some
rid
of
of
that
it.
as a kid. It was fun.
Yeah, one of the great stories I tell the kids, and my son just looks at me and goes, is that my mom would put me on the Zephyr, which was the train,
Okay. Wow.
at 7 years of age.
I've researched that a little bit.
Yeah,
The
and
Zephyr
she'd
train.
put me on the train and set me next to a nice lady that looked nice, and I would go out to Lincoln,
Wow.
Nebraska, and they would pick me up there and drive me home, and then I would spend my summers there, and then I would come back, and it was wonderful,
Yeah.
you know.
Kind of some independence, early independence.
Well, it was a different world,
Yeah.
of course, at that time, but I was raised independently. My folks were independent, and all.
Growing up as a teen, you did some theater, right?
Oh yeah, I did. Well, I started dancing at 3 years of age,
Wow.
and
You're. I only get the opportunity to call you Nana because I'm married to your grandchild,
that
Lisa, and she is a fantastic dancer as well. So I
I
just thought I'd let you know.
it's amazing, and so is Jamie. I mean,
Yes,
they
yes,
got some
they
of
got
that,
skills.
and Cassie
Cassie, oh
was
yeah,
a fabulous ballerina. I said
dancer.
that was like living my life over.
It does run in the family.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I was very, very lucky to have a neighborhood studio near where we lived in Chicago. It was above the drugstore on Ashland and Montrose, and it was very near, and that's where I started there, and took everything. And
You worked with some pretty popular people too in your day.
yes, I did. In fact, I was very, very lucky to. Our studio was run by a fellow that had been he was director of the Canadian Symphony Orchestra when he was young. And later on in his older life, he had done a lot of vaudeville and a lot of other stuff. And so we had more of a theatrical background than just dance. And I started out with the great Bob Fosse,
Yeah.
and he was there as one of the students. He's 4 years older than I.
Okay.
And
And you're at what age? This.
I was 3, and he was 4
Wow,
years
we're
old.
still at 3 years old here.
That's where we
Holy
started,
cow.
and he was there. He lived in the neighborhood, and he started going there because his sister was going there, and he was she was the babysitter, I guess, or something. And he just loved it. And there was another young boy there called Charlie Grass, who later went more into ballet, and he was a year older than I. He's still alive, by the way. And he got into Ruth Page, who was a big person here in the ballet theater
In Chicago.
in Chicago. And he worked with her a long time, too. And so we were all kind of pushed in that direction, you know. And, of course, that's what I wanted to do. And no, it was great, and the training we had was wonderful, and it was like a family. It was terrific, and of course I did a lot of things in my teenage years, and then when I graduated from high school in June, I had the opportunity to audition for the Annie Get Your Gun, which
Wow.
was here in Chicago at the
Wow.
Schubert, which Mary Martin at the time was the big star. And I graduated in June, and in August I was in the show as a dancer.
Wow.
And
This is what year?
this was 1948.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was 18, yeah.
I know when I think about those years, if I say that year frame, 20s to the 40s, I still think it's like black and white. You know what I mean? It's like as a kid, I would watch these. I thought everything was black and white back then because of television.
Well, the
You know,
television
didn't have
was-
color, right?
Yeah.
So that is silly, but it makes me think of even then
Well,
how.
yeah, television didn't really become a household thing until about 51, 52. So I grew up with radio and still do listen to the radio.
I do enjoy radio.
And television was, something. But I have a television story. I've written it down in my memoirs, too, is that this would have been, I was, probably 16 or 17. So that would have been 1946 or 47. This was after the big war.
Yeah.
And we were teenagers, Bob Fosse, Charlie Grass, this other gal and I, we were all teenagers. And across the street from the Chicago Theater in the State and Lake Building on the top floor was this little studio where they had this strange new thing called television.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody had a television set, and the screen was about this big.
Yeah.
And but it was starting out, and they needed people to come to take pictures of.
Yeah.
So Fred, our
Tried to make
guy,
an event
sent
out
us
of it.
over, and we would dance, and Bob and I did a couple of little teenage plays
To kind
and
of
stuff.
test it out,
To
right?
test it, yeah. We were never paid or anything, and I don't know who saw it. And but it was fun. But the camera was huge, and it was on a big dolly,
Yeah. It was massive.
massive,
Yeah.
and it didn't move like you have this now.
Yeah.
You know, it
Yeah.
it just kind of went like it stood there, and you had to move around it. You know, but we just did it. We did anything that we were sent to do, and my mother went along to take me downtown, and she sat out in the lobby watching on this little screen. And when we went home, my mother says to me, "This will never be anything." And I'll never forget that. That's all the television I ever did. I never got into it after that. But
But the those type of, you know, that thing went forward to create a lot of information and record some history. But with what you do, I love to record for some reason. I don't know what that is, but it's like what you've written some pieces
oh yeah,
before,
yeah,
and that's your way of recording what goes on and what documenting what happens in
Yeah.
life.
yeah. I'm glad to hear that kids are learning cursive again, because writing almost, I thought it was going to go out of style. And when I was growing up, this was very, very important to have good penmanship, because that was the only way that you
Yeah.
communicated.
Yeah, I'm glad I could read cursive or even write it, but a lot of kids are not
No.
anymore.
But I've heard that they're starting to do it again, and
I think if I had to do it, you should do it too. But,
yeah. But
what else have you written,
well,
or documented, or?
well, basically, I went back in the genealogy. After I retired, I did a lot of the stuff that I wanted to do earlier in life and didn't have time.
Well, because you messed with some audio visuals yourself too.
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, I did that. That was kind of fun. I got this machine that would make videos.
Yeah, it's like
VCR.
an early editing machine.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah, but it also would put your VCR tape in, and you could make a CD
Yes.
or a DVD or
Yes.
whatever.
it was recording software.
Yeah, yeah, and I kind of like this.
It is.
I've
There's
always it's interesting, you know.
Technical aspect or skill that it takes to, oh, the music goes in right here, or, you know.
Yeah, and I used to I had a regular camera, you know, and I would take pictures on our trips or vacations, or take pictures of the girls skating, or the programs they did, or whatever, for record, you know. And then I would put them on a VCR or a DVD
Yeah.
through this thing, and then add music, kind of like what you do.
Yeah.
And so I've got a lot of those downstairs.
It's so fun, yeah.
I hope they still work, you know.
I'm sure they do. To go back and watch them is such a joy.
But you know, time goes so fast that you forget.
Yeah. Yeah.
You forget that your kids were ever this little, or that, you know. And it's very, very good. I have I have a lot of picture books going back, and as I said, but I got interested in genealogy, and I've done all four, my husband's two sides and my two sides, all the way back. In fact, I got back to Hank's mom to the 1600s.
Wow.
Not all by myself.
Yes,
I had
yes, of
help, and
course.
Judy, Hank's sister, was involved in, you know, and but it's terribly interesting, and so I've got a lot of that. I don't know. I hope the kids keep it and add to it.
It's something. It's definitely something of a huge value to have that information. Recording history, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna wrap up this, and we'll come over again and
Anytime.
have a chat with you if that's okay.
Yeah, I
All
said I've got lots of stories.
Yeah, I know, and we're gonna get them. We're gonna get them. All right. So love you, and
Oh.
then anytime the internet decides to not work, I'll come over and take a look at it, and then we'll
Well, we
we'll
hope
do
it,
another interview.
we hope it doesn't do that often, but I I try. I said I had one little. Well, yeah, I know you're running out, but I had one little story that at work they started putting in computers, and they were so worried about me. I was bookkeeper and office manager at the time of a business forms company, printing company, and they were so worried about me because I was older and would I fight this and everything. And I thought it was fascinating. I loved it. So they were very happy about that.
Awesome. All right, thanks, Nana.
You're
This has
welcome,
been James Orton and Beth Vandenboom from Fox River Grove. So we'll see you. Have a great day. Drive safe.